week after week, as she, has done well and established herself as a really good player on tour, they all come out to support her. And so I think we saw that in Australia when it was kind of overcrowded. They put her on a two.
Gemini just dropped a bombshell, and you need to pause everything you're doing right now. Turn up the volume. Silence your notifications. Clear the room. Focus. This isn't your usual sports segment or another polished tennis recap packaged for easy consumption. What I'm about to lay out goes far deeper. It's about a controversy shaking the very foundation of professional tennis, a level of systemic bias so blatant, so frustrating, that it can't be ignored any longer. We're watching a cultural earthquake unfold in real time, while the establishment acts like nothing is happening. This story involves Jessica Pegula, Novak Djokovic, the WTA, and the unstoppable global force that is Alex Eala. And what's happening behind the scenes will change the way you see the sport forever.
It's, you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. Alex Eala, that's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's big interest.
It's 2026 in the glittering United Arab Emirates at the WTA Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. The lights are blazing. The cameras are locked in. The atmosphere is electric. Jessica Pegula, a titan of women's tennis and one of the sport's most respected champions, has just battled through a stacked, unforgiving draw to capture the Dubai Open title. It's one of the most impressive wins of her already distinguished career. This should be her moment. The press closes in. Confetti floats through the air. The trophy gleams under the stadium lights. The microphone waits. In professional sports, this is when champions usually talk about their grind, the sacrifices, the preparation, the coaching team, the strategy, the journey. But Jessica Pegula chose a completely different path. Right in the middle of her own championship celebration, she shifted the spotlight away from herself. On one of the biggest stages in tennis, with a global audience watching, she redirected the conversation towards someone she believes deserves far more recognition, far more respect, and far fairer treatment from the sport's leadership. She made it about Alex Eala. And she didn't soften her words. Pegula made it crystal clear to every journalist, fan, and executive in attendance that Alex Eala is no longer just a promising newcomer. That narrative? It's outdated. It's finished. According to Pegula, Eala has evolved into something much bigger, a legitimate rising superstar. A competitor who has repeatedly proven she belongs among the sport's elite. Someone with the technical precision, the championship-level mental toughness, and that rare, undeniable magnetism that separates good players from global icons. But here's the uncomfortable truth Pegula courageously exposed. The Women's Tennis Association doesn't seem to be treating her that way. And Pegula, speaking not just as a champion, but as a veteran leader in the locker room, made it clear she refuses to stay silent about it any longer. Pegula's press conference didn't feel routine. It felt revealing. She pulled the media back to a defining memory, her grueling three-set battle with Alex Eala at the Miami Open in 2025. She described walking out of the tunnel and onto that Florida hard court, on home soil, in her own country, expecting at least a neutral atmosphere. After all, Pegula is American. This was supposed to be comfortable territory. Instead, she froze for a split second. The sound hit her first. It wasn't just loud. It was thunderous, vibrating, overwhelming. The energy inside the stadium wasn't merely enthusiastic, it was explosive. Every rally triggered roars. Every Eala winner felt like a seismic event. The crowd was massive, fully invested, emotionally synchronized. Pegula said the entire experience was insane, and she meant that as the highest form of praise. She wasn't complaining about hostility. She was stunned by devotion. "I'm from there," she told reporters, "and the whole crowd was against me. I was thinking, what is happening here? Where did all these people come from?" That question wasn't rhetorical. It was genuine disbelief. Because what Pegula witnessed wasn't just typical crowd support. It was something far more powerful, a teenage Filipino athlete who had organically built a loyal, global following that most established Grand Slam champions spend a decade trying to cultivate. And here's the critical part Pegula emphasized. Miami wasn't an isolated incident. She was deliberate about this. Precise. She referenced the pattern. The scorching summer energy of the Australian Open in Melbourne. The electric nights in Dubai at the Dubai Tennis Championships. The same phenomenon kept repeating. No matter the continent, no matter the time zone, Alex Eala draws crowds. And not casual spectators. Fans don't simply attend her matches. They mobilize around them. They book international flights. They reserve hotels months in advance. They stand in punishingly long queues under harsh sun or late-night humidity just to secure a seat. Flags wave. Chants echo. Entire sections of stadiums transform into something resembling a Davis Cup atmosphere, except it's centered on one young player. That kind of organic magnetism is extraordinarily rare in modern sports. You can't manufacture it through marketing campaigns. You can't force it with branding strategies. You can't script it into existence. Yet, this is precisely what governing bodies like the Women's Tennis Association have spent years trying to engineer: a new global face, a next-generation force capable of energizing markets beyond traditional power bases. According to Pegula, that force already exists. The fans have spoken. The stadiums have responded. The energy is undeniable. The only question left hanging in that press room was this: why does the system still seem hesitant to fully embrace it? For years, the Women's Tennis Association has poured millions into boardroom strategies, marketing expansions, and carefully packaged campaigns aimed at penetrating the massive Asian market. Executives have held endless conference meetings discussing growth projections, demographic charts, and brand positioning across Southeast Asia. And yet, standing right in front of them is something they could manufacture if they tried. Alex Eala, a young Filipino star who didn't need a corporate rollout plan. She didn't need artificial hype. Through raw generational talent, natural charisma, and an underdog narrative that resonates across borders, she organically achieved what marketing departments dream about: authentic regional devotion that translates into global momentum. Despite overwhelming indicators, ticket sales spikes, merchandise demand, streaming engagement, social media surges, the pattern has reportedly remained the same. Smaller courts, secondary scheduling, limited visibility. Jessica Pegula didn't describe this as confusing. She described it as professionally insulting. The Melbourne logistical meltdown for Pegula recounted what happened at the Australian Open in 2026, and from a sports economic standpoint, it borders on unbelievable. According to attendance reports and insiders, Alex Eala's matches were drawing some of the largest crowd interest Melbourne Park had seen in years. Supporters traveled from Manila, Tokyo, Singapore, and across the region. For many, this wasn't just a tennis match. It was a pilgrimage. They flew across oceans, booked hotels months ahead, took vacation days, waved Philippine flags, prepared chants, organized meetups. And when they arrived, she was assigned to a secondary court that physically could not accommodate even a fraction of them. Thousands reportedly stood in brutal Australian summer heat, trapped in winding lines that barely moved. Some never made it inside. After enormous financial sacrifice and emotional commitment, they were left outside concrete walls, listening to distant cheers they couldn't join. Then came the worst part. Eala was eliminated. For many fans, the entire experience became a memory of sunburn, exhaustion, and frustration instead of inspiration. Pegula didn't soften her criticism. She reportedly labeled the situation pure disrespect, not just toward Eala as a competitor, but toward paying supporters who form the backbone of the sports ecosystem. When insiders speak, Pegula went even further. She revealed that insiders had privately acknowledged that the tournament atmosphere that year was among the most electric in recent memory, and that Eala's presence significantly fueled that surge. Think about that. A record-setting environment. A revenue-boosting wave of engagement. one of the most energized Grand Slam atmospheres in years. And the player largely responsible was still confined to one of the smaller stages. That doesn't read like a simple oversight. It reads like a message. Enter Novak Djokovic, for then another voice entered the conversation, and not just any voice. Novak Djokovic, 24 Grand Slam singles titles. The most decorated male player in modern history. A man who has spent his career navigating, and at times clashing with, tennis's traditional power structure. When Djokovic speaks about fairness, people listen. He publicly described Eala as the greatest tennis talent the Philippines has ever produced. He emphasized that she deserves full respect from media, from fans, and crucially from officials. He acknowledged that court assignments and scheduling decisions can create competitive disadvantages in high-pressure tournaments. His words were measured, but the implication was clear. Placement matters. Respect matters. Infrastructure decisions shape outcomes. When a legend validates concerns, the narrative shifts. This stops being social media noise. It becomes an institutional question. The Swiatek incident then there was the deeply controversial moment during Eala's match against world number 1 Iga Swiatek. Swiatek, a dominant Grand Slam champion and one of the sport's most formidable competitors, commands automatic respect across the tour. But during a crucial stretch, just as Eala was reportedly building real momentum, an official entered the court to inspect her tennis bag. Mid-match, mid-rhythm, mid-battle. Anyone who understands elite competition knows how fragile momentum can be. Disruptions at knife-edge moments alter emotional temperature, break focus, and freeze adrenaline. Fans questioned the timing. Commentators raised eyebrows. Critics argued it felt unprecedented, particularly during a high-stakes exchange against the world's top-ranked player. Whether coincidental or procedural, the optics fueled an already growing perception among supporters that scrutiny lands differently depending on who's standing on the baseline. Pressure creates diamonds. Here's the paradox. If the intention behind small courts, awkward scheduling, or mid-match disruptions was to cool her momentum, it may have done the opposite. Every obstacle has sharpened her. Every crowded queue has amplified her myth. Every controversy has expanded her platform. She is no longer just a talented young player. She's becoming a symbol of Southeast Asian pride, of next-generation disruption, of a shifting tennis landscape that no longer revolves solely around traditional Western strongholds. Pegula sees it. Djokovic sees it. Millions of fans see it every time she steps onto a court. The governing bodies can continue their bureaucratic balancing acts. They can assign Court 6 or Court 12. They can treat the roar of Filipino supporters as background noise. But the truth is getting harder to ignore. Nothing about Alex Eala feels small anymore. Not her explosive baseline power. Not her refusal to surrender. And certainly not the scale of the movement rising behind her. At some point, the establishment faces a choice. Build a bigger stage,